Today's Mob Rules is going to be brought to you in behalf of a concerned YouTuber who recently received a cease and desist to tell them to stop using the word Warhammer as part of their channel name. Mm-hmm. And they really sent out an SOS like, hey guys, if it happens to me, it'll happen to all of you guys. And we just want to let people know, no, it won't, because we're not racist assholes.
Word.
Oh man, back again. Danny, has it really only been like a week since we have spent all of our week together recording stuff?
Yeah.
It's been a fun week though. Hey,
oh yeah, for sure.
Welcome to Mob Rules.
Yeah,
I didn't introduce us last time. I am John, and the gentleman beside me needs no introduction.
I'm Danny.
No, damn it, you ruined it.
I absolutely do need an introduction. To be fair, I am, if anything, just to massage my ego.
Yeah, just you need to know your name.
Right. It's important for people to say my name.
It's important. It is very important. But yeah, we want to thank everyone who checked out our YouTube channel where we uploaded 10 videos.
Hell yeah.
Over 3 days. It was a labor of very quick editing. And I appreciate all the feedback we got on it. Like someone suggested that we should do like little virtual like demonstrations with models about the rules as you're talking. I'm like, man, yeah, that would have been great if it wasn't for the fact the release date for the videos was changed by like a half week.
Right, exactly.
So instead of kind of making it a labor of love and really great, you got my kind of really speedy edits to get it there. Hey, fun story for those, because I cut it out of everything. During the recording, what was supposed to happen at the end was we were meant to, Danny would be like, hey, and this was us talking about the shooting phase, and that was supposed to go like hit this. So you had like a regular intro outro music as kind of like a good little bumper. Obviously, what I did was, as I was on a different soundboard, hit this button. which really just screwed up the
underscored
aesthetic.
The professional nature of our podcast.
It really did.
Like.
It really did. But even though it's only been like a week away, it's been a very productive week for both of us. I feel.
My God, seriously.
Danny, what have you been up to? What on earth have you been up to?
So I had a 3-day weekend like most other Americans. Yay! Happy 4th of July to everybody.
Yeah.
And I painted the Necron half, built and painted the Necron half of Indominus. So that's basically what I did over the last 2 weeks. Also, I read the 40K rulebook a lot.
You did. So you have that unfair advantage now if you go in.
Oh, man, I'm going to lie to you so much this weekend.
Good. Not that you have to at this point, unless you're like lying to me in order to make me feel better, in which case, all good with that.
Nice.
But yeah, so you built and painted, and obviously in your custom kind of Necron scheme, looks great all around. I really like it when you're painting an army and you find like the way to do the scheme.
Oh yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, this is just real easy now.
Right. And so a couple of years, I painted a lot of Necrons for this army, so I kind of have a really good idea of how to paint the army pretty quickly. And so luckily for me, I was ready.
You were ready.
Yeah.
You were good to go. Myself, I went into hyper painting mode, as determined as I am to never lose 10 points for never having painting stuff. So in this past week, I've painted 8 Blightlord Terminators.
Nice.
I painted 10 Bolt Gun Plague Marines, a couple more Blight Launcher Plague Marines. Okay. Half of a Plague Surgeon, which I decided I wasn't going to use anymore, so I just kind of kicked it away.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'll probably use it later, but like for my immediate needs, and let me tell you, like I think we discussed it earlier/later when we talked with Phil, the GLACIAL GEEK. There is nothing more satisfying than seeing like my fully painted army on the table.
Oh my God!
Like I am so like 2 tanks and some basing away from just everything being like 100% done.
That's so nice,
and
man.
it looks great, and I'm really excited for us to play. Like Danny and I are going to play a game of 9th on Saturday. And then speak kind of with the other members of the Road Traeger Network about 9th and kind of how it is. And like I said, I'm just super hyped. Like even if I get my rear end kicked,
same.
Like just the fact I'll be playing a game again, and especially everything's going to look great because I have my frontline terrain set. So the terrain's fully painted. It'll be on a mat that I'm just going to like really shakily cut up. So some will be like 42 inches and some will be like 44 inches, depending on kind of how shaky my hand was at the time. I'm not going to cut. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be super nice to kind of get in and play.
I'm hyped.
Thank you. You can just feel like, yes.
Yeah.
Super good.
Good job, John.
But we have like a lot today though that we're going to be going over.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh! So much fun stuff. We usually try to aim for like 5-6 minutes. Usually we waffle on for like an hour and a half.
I know, right?
But today we are continuing our favorite segment of the worst characters in 40K.
Yep.
We are pulling in an old friend and Phil, the Glacial Geek, who is joining us to talk about the 9th edition changes, or at least some of them. Mm-hmm. Sadly, very busy person, so we can only get like maximum the 30 minutes of allotted video time we're given to record without editing things together.
By the technology gods.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then also we have a couple other things we're going to talk about, including questions from our listeners. And generally, we're going to talk about what Danny and I's favorite 8th edition memories are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was going to be a thing we're going to do, too. So let's get started by taking a break. And we'll be right back with Phil, the Glacial Geek.
Dude, I'm the best. I took first place at another tournament.
First off, stop with the thunder and lightning. You don't impress me. And second, let me check out the BCP rankings. And I don't see you on there.
What?
Your TO needs to download the Best Coast Pairings app and run events on it. After the event, the results are uploaded into BCP rankings, and the best part, it's easy and free.
But I play multiple game systems.
No big deal. The BCP app can be used for any game. A ton of events every weekend are using it, from major international tournaments to local stores. And now that it's available on Android devices, you're going to have some serious competition.
There can be only one.
BCP Rankings is a fun and exciting way to measure how you or your team stack up. No matter what you play, your score goes to an overall ranking, or compete to be the best in a game, a circuit, a region, or the world.
Download the app or visit www.bestcoastpairings.com for more info.
Best Coast Pairings.
Are you the best?
And we're back.
We are.
How's it going? And we're joined live via video in the most high-tech of systems that I have.
I like it.
By podcast alumni.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, and someone who needs no introduction.
But we'll introduce you anyway.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Oh, thank God. I forgot who I was.
Phil, the Glacial Geek of Glacial Geek fame on YouTube. How's it going, Phil?
Fame. Air quotes there. Yeah, I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Oh, man. We're as good as can be.
We here.
We here.
Yeah.
We out here.
Alive.
So we're doing
good.
little things, but we pulled you back on out of the deep south to
back down here in America.
real America. Yeah.
No, America.
America.
Contiguous states.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're
crying
free
out
shipping.
loud.
It's a real thing.
If someone says, okay. If someone doesn't say Alaska is not a continental state again, I'm going to lose my shit, man.
It's Danny's pet peeve.
It's not contiguous, but
correct.
It's continental. Yeah.
So, Phil,
The continental. Yes.
for people who might not know who you are, all three of them.
Yes. You mean the vast proportion of the world?
Well, no, we only have like 4 listeners.
If you didn't cut him
viewers,
off,
so.
I was going to say 3 billion, but okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am Phil Glacial Geek. I have a YouTube channel, which I think all of which you've already said. But essentially, I do a lot of 40K content on YouTube. I do a lot of battle reports. I do previews of books that are coming out. And I do various other stuff that just comes to my mind whenever I want to do it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Love it. Well, we pulled you in today to talk about 9th edition.
Yes.
This is one of the lucky few to sort of get the Indomitus box to review from GW. We wanted to kind of pull you in, get your kind of your thoughts and all those things. As someone who plays the game frequently, which someone with a Bat Report channel will have to do.
Yes.
As it's almost like your job.
Yeah. As it is
right?
literally your job. So yeah, we want to talk about some of the big changes, what you guys are excited about. Because I know Danny has been nose deep in this book for a while now.
Deeper than my nose, my friend.
It's like a 1/4 inch in.
Yeah, the whole 1/4 inch, the whole thing. So Phil, on a scale of 1 to woo, how excited are you?
Oh, let me. I was going to say, let me.
Let me just turn down your volume a bit.
Yeah, don't set me up for that. Don't set me up for failure. No? Yeah.
Yeah, you maxed right out like a minute.
Yeah. I'm not editing that. I don't edit. So.
Sorry for all you wearing headphones. No, never mind.
They're not wearing them anymore.
No.
John should apologize if anything.
You're like, I'll apologize on my YouTube channel. I refuse to apologize on your guys' stuff.
Yeah. I apologize enough on my channel. I'm not going to apologize on other people's channels.
That's how we take out the competition.
Oh, yeah. Via their ears. We've been doing it for 5 years now.
It's working so well.
Invite them onto the channel and just watch them crash.
But yeah, so you are woo level excited for 9th. There's a lot of changes coming here. What are some of the things that really stick out to you? Some of the major changes for 9th that you are most excited about?
Sure. I think that the biggest thing that I'm most excited about is it seems like GW has made an attempt to really take away a lot of like the feel bad moments of the game. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought that the change from 7th to 8th really just like took off the edges that really caused conflict in games, like the templates or the deep strike scatter, the angles of shooting, like armor facings, all those things that you'd have like minor disputes with your opponent, and it just made for minor bad feelings in a game, not like table flipping moments necessarily, but you still have a situation where you're not, where someone's not happy with the way it works out, even if you have to dice off for it. They felt like they made that good change in 8th edition when they moved into it. Moving into 9th edition, it seems like a lot of the other feel bad moments, they've taken time to do it, like having a stratagem to be able to get out of being tri-pointed. Because, you know, there's nothing more frustrating than having your screen tri-pointed by their massive assault force that you know you can't do anything about, and he's just going to kill you on the next turn no matter what you do. You can't run away fast enough, you can't shoot it, you can't do anything. It just feels bad. You know, and now if you run out of CP, you can't do anything about it. And if they manage to try 0.2 units, you're still stuck. But at least it gives you an option to get out of a situation, and you don't feel hopeless.
Right.
You know?
That's fair.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I know I primarily play like assault armies and assault-based armies, and a lot of my tactics to win was doing real janky, weird stuff to bend the rules in a way to stop my opponent from interacting. So if I'm tripoding you, I'm doing that so you can't fall back. And if you can't fall back and I have a unit tripoding you in the back line, you can't shoot my characters who are in the middle of the field.
Right.
Like just a lot of, I see a lot of people saying like assault is dead and they've really kind of messed up assault and it's going to be a shooting army. All they've done with assault is they've added a level of skill to it that you're going to need to be able to do in order to pull it off correctly.
Yeah, and I think that there's some other like tangible benefits to assault as well. Like the decrease in table size is really important. I think that like forcing you to go midfield, like you have to go in the middle of the table to win the game. You can't just stay in your deployment zone and win. Like so, I think assault armies get a buff there. It's just more going to be like how you can best trade your punching units for their units so that you're like getting a net gain every time.
Absolutely, and I think that they've also like the reducing the Overwatch to basically one unit per side makes a big difference, makes it easier to get into combat. And I think that a lot of the changes they made seem balanced out with each other, because I think a lot of people that were upset with the state of Assault in 9th edition were looking for 9th edition to become the Assault edition, where it was the obvious choice to take. It was the armies that were going to be dominant were only going to be Assault armies. And I don't think GW wanted that. I think they wanted you to be able to choose. If you wanted to shoot, you could shoot. You want to assault, you can assault.
Yeah,
and it really feels like that's what they were bringing with 9th edition.
I think that they did a good. I think they did a relatively good job of balancing the two. Like, I think it's going to be always an easier thing to shoot somebody because it doesn't require like the level of movement and placement that assault does. So assault is always going to be more skill, like skill based. Like, it's always going to be harder to assault somebody than to shoot somebody. But I think that they've done. I think they kind of. It's all. I don't know. I guess it's all side grades for assault, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like you said, it does take more skill to do, but it did feel like there were points in 8th edition where there were only very few assault tactics that worked. There was the mass blob of possessed that could just go across and were just untargetable and make it into combat. And there were very few other options that would really work super well and consistently in 8th edition. In 9th edition, it feels like they have more of an option. They have more of a chance to get into combat, more of a chance to make an impact on the game.
Yep.
And I think that's what they were looking to do. And I think it feels like they succeeded. I'm sure we'll find ways to make it broken.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That is our lot in life, Phil.
Exactly.
Something else you guys have mentioned, kind of talking about assault and some of the benefits we're seeing, is the expected change in table size that we have coming up, moving from like 6 foot by 4 foot. Now we're going to the smaller 60 inches by 44 inches.
Yep.
Which is what, about 20% reduction in table size? 25% reduction in table size. You're starting closer together. You have less space in your deployment zone. It's going to be a huge way of changing your game. It's been Sorry, you're saying.
Stay distant, right? They still have the 24 inches.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
you have less space in your deployment.
You can't hide as far away.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
Even in Hammer and Anvil, like knocking like a whole 6 inches off the back of your opponent's deployment zone just means that you can get into assault with things on the back edge one turn faster, more or less, which is great.
I mean, I know for me, whenever I was playing 8th, if I got Hammer and Anvil, it was an uphill struggle for me because my opponent just deployed on that back line.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, guess I have one more turn of shooting to survive. Another thing there. It's an interesting change. If you look at the reasoning behind it of wanting to fit the kill team size boards and kind of more of those boards fitted together, you can really kind of get it. And understand why they're doing it there, but it seems to be something that hasn't been super popular with kind of some of the vocal minority of players.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. I think it's good for the game overall.
I think people just are upset maybe that they have their tables they built and they have their mats that they bought that they could just throw down and they're good to go.
That's true.
You kind of have to measure it out and tape it off or whatever. But at the same time, unless you're looking to play competitively or you're looking to go into a tournament scene that you're trying to practice or that's what you're trying to do, they still play it at 6x4. Who cares? It's new in your basement. That's what they said.
Yep.
They literally said it's optional. So the only time it becomes mandatory is if the TO at the tournament you're looking to says that's what we're playing.
Right.
And then it's up to them to set it up.
Speaking of more controversial topics as well, from the Eternal War missions in the book, 10% of your score is now based on whether you have a fully painted and based army to a battle ready standard. Now, Phil, I know standard on your channel obviously is to have everything 100% painted all the time.
So I'm not going to get a heads up on any of my opponents.
But again, this has been seen as pretty controversial. Danny, what are your kind of thoughts on that?
So I think it's really good for the game overall. Even though I know a lot of people will probably complain about this feature, I think, especially since local events, like for us, like in our meta, like this is anecdotal, right? But I feel like there's a lot of people that don't have painted armies in our particular like environment. Now, granted, you go to a big tournament and stuff like that, like everything's painted because it's a requirement of the event. But locally, I think it'll cause some friction initially, maybe, and maybe the first few events won't use it, which I'd be sad to see. Because again, I think it's a good change for the game. Like I was saying earlier, and John has oft times quoted me on this, like what looks better to somebody who's just like walking in and looking at a game, like if you have a bunch of people playing it, or if the armies that are on display, like if you have like a lesser number of people, and that's fine. But bringing like fully painted nice armies, I mean, that just makes the game look a lot better than a sea of plastic. And so, I mean, I think it's good for stores. Like they'll sell more paint, they'll sell more brushes, they'll sell more hobby supplies. And I think it's good for like, hey, this is what is expected of you when you play this game. Like it's expected that you'll paint your models. And if you want the full points, and you don't have to, like you can take the 10-point hit if you want, like that's up to you. But I think that it's important to, keep that aspect of it, of the ruling in mind. Like I think it's better for the game's health overall.
So Phil, down there in real America, what is your kind of local meta like tournament wise for kind of painted to unpainted?
Honestly, a lot of people have it painted because they've tried since I've moved down here to get more of a serious gaming scene, like some of the more regional tournaments that they have. And a lot of the even local ones have had painting competitions involved with the regular tournaments that go on. So I think there's always been that emphasis on things being painted. And I know it sounds a little conceited, but a lot of the people in my meta want to play on my channel, so they paint up their army to be on the channel. Because they're like, I saw you on the internet, I want to be on your channel. I'm like, then paint your army. You know, I'm not docking you 10 points. I'm just not playing yet unless it's painted, because nobody wants to watch that on my channel. Doesn't want to see Grey Hordes go across the
True.
Well, I will say you were mostly responsible for my painted Tyranids for like this same reason. I'm like, I wouldn't have, like, I think one time I painted like 40 gargoyles because I'm like, dang it, I want to do this. But I got to paint them up. And I have to say, like, this week, Danny and I are getting ready to play a game of 9th today, actually, or whenever this releases. I haven't, decided the editing level. But we've been like, I've been painting hard to be fully painted for that, because I'm like, no, I'm going to get at least 10 points from this game.
Me too.
And they're like, honestly, the satisfaction, I've been putting the units out of and seeing I'm like 2 tanks away from being done. And it looks so good. Like, it looks so much better.
And like, it gets me excited to play more. Like, to be honest, like I want to put my models on the table when they're done. And I'm really happy. And now that they're done, they're done. Like, I don't have to go back and do them, or I don't have to worry about it. It's stress that's off my plate, kind of. So yeah. And I've been working hard too. I painted the Indominus Necron set. So
that's awesome.
Like, disturbingly quickly.
I was going to say, I just got my box. I've got like 3 models. I got 2.5 models built. You've got the entire side painted. They even shipped it up there to what, like Canada Junior?
Well, it was half painted when I got it.
Well, something
they said bugs. They said you a half painted army. Great.
Yep. Now you know where you stand, Phil.
So more of kind of like the assault stuff that's been changed here is a couple of like major things. Is one, you need to declare, when you declare your charge targets, you need to be able to physically reach them during that charge. So no more consolidating into combat. No more kind of using the strats to get like a 6-inch consolidate to get away. You need to be able to get there the whole time. The other thing, which is kind of adjacent to this, would be that heroic interventions, if you are heroically intervened against, you can swing away on that character who's come in, or squad that's come in.
Yep.
Those two are massive changes to how combat works.
They really are. Yeah.
Phil, what are some of your thoughts about those two things?
So I think that the having to get into combat with every unit that you declare was almost necessary for them to do, to balance out the fact that they took away Overwatch from everyone. Because otherwise you just declare everyone in 12 inches, I'll figure out what I'm going to do after this. It doesn't require any thought process. And you're just left as the person defending, like sitting there with your, thumb up your butt. And it's like, what am I going to do?
That was my 8th edition tactic.
Yep.
Exactly. And it's a lot of people's tactics. You sit there, you're like, well, this guy's like 11.5 inches away. I need double sixes on this charge. But I'm going to declare him and this guy that's like 3 inches away. And if I get the double six, I'll go for him. If I get the 3, I'll go for him. And it's like, right, that's fine. They both get to shoot at you. But if you're not letting them shoot at you, then there's no risk in making that call anymore. So
true.
Now, if you want to hit that 12-inch, you want to hit those double sixes, that's a huge risk, because otherwise you're not getting in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on another point here. Overwatch is now a stratagem and not just kind of a base thing everyone gets. As someone, again, you mainly play Dark Angels here with something like Grim Resolve, where you got that buff to 5-up. How do you feel about this change?
Well, we only got that in 8th edition. We just one model.
It sort of works.
But it sort of works. I mean, but as someone who plays Dark Angels, who likes to have a whole bunch of like the DACA speeders that are sitting there with like a gajillion shot each, it's like, yeah, okay, charge me. That sounds great. I'm just gonna shoot you, reroll everything, and then reroll the wounds. And it's like, yeah, go for it, have fun.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll be back in 20 minutes when you're done.
Exactly. Let me know when you removed all your models. Yeah, and that would be fine. But then the Gene Stealer cult player in me, it was like looked at that and was like, well, you know, what am I supposed to do? Go against charge into all these DACA codes, you know?
Right.
And I think that what they did was they took away again those feel bad moments, because it's like, you know, you're an assault army, you have to assault, and it's like this person is fine with you assaulting because they get to shoot you again, which is what they want to do anyway. So they get, like, it's good for them regardless of what's going on to you. Whereas when you're assaulting, it just hurts. You know, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's like one unit you can use a psychic power on to stop them. You know, so I feel like the changes that they made make it so that you don't have to make tactical decisions. Still, like, you know, it's not because you want to avoid Overwatch anymore. Now it's because you want to make sure you can get in.
Right.
And because of that, it just increases the level of tactics and thought process and engagement in the game, while still making it less of a brutal slaughter for anyone trying to do assault.
Yeah. So, and along those lines of other things, as a Dark Angels player, plasma overcharging, which I know you're a huge fan of, because I know every time we played, I tried to make you overcharge Azrael.
It doesn't take a lot to get overcharge Azrael.
It does not. But now an unmodified roll of 1 always fails on that, which for someone I run Plasma Terminators, you run, well, obviously Dark Angels have a lot of plasma, and there's a lot of easy ways to mitigate that one by getting +1 to hit from literally 17 different sources. What's your feels on the now unmodified ones just being there?
Oh, really?
Well, I feel better with the unmodified ones. Yeah. Okay. I feel better with the unmodified ones because I was more likely to have -3 for shooting into, like, you know, a lightning reflex Eldari flyer than I was going to be, you know, getting the benefit of hitting on, you know, always getting a 2 result with a +1 hit. So to me, it feels like that balances out. You know, it's like, yeah, there's always a chance now for me to blow myself up. But most units, especially with Dark Angels, if I stand still, I can reroll 1s anyway.
Yeah.
But I never have, like, well, I can't reroll 2s, but because I was negative 47 to hit, because the Eldari Flyer is like 12.1 inches away from me, it means that, you know, I'm just dead. So it feels like a lot of the things the changes they made weren't meant to just like take away risk. They were meant to mitigate the feel bad situations that those risks were inherent with, you know. So it's like, yeah, I can't shoot my plasma at Eldari Flyers because -3 is too much of a risk for me to do it. Now, yeah, it's 1 in 6 chance, but that's better than the 1 in the 50% chance or whatever it would become at -3. So.
For sure. Moving on to detachments. Now, the way armies are constructed, I think, is one of the things that's fundamentally changed. Instead of like your detachments gaining UCP, they start losing UCP. And I know, Danny, like you and I, when we're making lists, we're finding it very hard to move away from just like a single battalion because we want to hoard that stuff. What are your thoughts, Danny, on the new detachment system?
Well, I think overall, a lot of people are probably going to play with, like, especially if you're playing really competitive lists, I think that people are going to be down CP, or they're going to be down CP from where they normally are, like at the start. And then overall, they might have the same or a little bit more. So I really have been trying not to spend too many extra CP and kind of trying to keep it to that 1 battalion. If I have to, I've been kind of looking at maybe adding a patrol, but nothing really more than that. I don't really want to spend any extra points.
For sure. And then also some of the changes they made, like Supreme Command, gone as we know it.
Right.
Replaced with a much better rule, which
Oh
lets
my
you
God,
take
it's
your
so
Demon
much better.
Primarch or your Primarch or your Supreme Commander.
And so the rumor is, and don't quote me on this, but
I'm quoting you right now.
right, okay, cool.
Already
Yep.
quoted.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Grab a
You guys
pen,
are-
Phil.
You guys are great.
Glacial Geek exclusive. Danny says.
I did hear a bunch of special characters are getting the Supreme Commander ability,
Which makes sense.
which is great. So, or I don't know, whatever that is, like the ability. I forgot what the keyword exactly is, but you can take them into Supreme Command and they won't count against your battalion, which is great.
And then finally, a reason to take fortifications.
Oh yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Fortifications, if they share the keyword of your faction, which it looks like more and more factions are having unique fortifications, can now take the fortification detachment for free.
CP wise, right?
CP wise, yeah. Oh man, I wish I got an 85-point tree for
I
free.
also
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, hold on, I just go order a whole bunch of frag drills
for my GSC.
Yeah. Well, now you can take one and not feel super bad about it, though. Really,
Yeah.
And usually, I don't know. I find that I'm not using all 3 detachment slots anyway, and that might change in the future as like more games get played and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm totally fine with taking a fortification detachment right now, which is great.
Flyer wings.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm
Gone.
That's gone too.
Gone. Get out of here.
Get the fudge out.
After last LVO, where my second game was against like a 6 flyer Iron Hand list, I'm just goodbye.
I had a
game at
ATC where I
was Gene
was
Stealer
got paired up against
this
Eldar flyer
guy who had
literally 9 flyers
Oh.
and 4 characters, 2 of them on bikes and 2 of them with like the jump wing thing that they have, and you just keep moving them back and forth and just keep it so that they were surrounded by the flyers. And I know if I could get
it
with
was like 2 guys on a really long charge in there to avoid being engaged with his flyers.
It was
Miserable.
And again, back
Miserable game to play. It was
no fun,
and it was just
like to get it out of here. So again,
like the
feel bad moments. They got rid of the two.
They got
rid of the 2 detachments that led to the most feel bad moments.
And then
Game.
they reduced the effectiveness of the third one probably, which is the super heavy detachment.
oh yeah. No more triple Lord of Skulls.
Well, you can.
well, you
It's just
can, but
you're paying the points.
Money.
Yeah.
Out there. So I mean, I'm really happy when and like you said, Phil, there it seems to be this is the feels good edition. If you win, you're winning through skill and not because you found a bunch of janky stuff to do an assault.
Exactly, and a lot of the complaints that I've been reading. I mean, it's the Warhammer community, so there's a lot of them. But they all seem to be they centered around people being upset that they can't have easy ways to win the game. Where they're like, "Whoa,
I thought this was
supposed to be the assault,
and now you're telling me that
they can also
not let me
trap them in a perpetual
slaughter.
Like that doesn't
seem right.
And
it's like,
no, that wasn't
fun for your
opponent to get caught
in there.
Yeah.
But at the same
time,
you're not going to be
overwatched
by 1,000 tanks that are sitting back in the far corner for your assault army at the same time. So it feels like
they really try to
take away the bad
feelings and
make it more of a balanced choice where you make a deliberate choice of how you want your army to work, and then you make it work on the table, and make it even more so because you choose your secondary winning conditions so that you can literally tailor the mission to how you build your army to work.
Absolutely. Well, Phil, we're about out of time here. Before you go, plug your stuff. I'm aware you might have a couple things you might want to mention.
Let's talk about you.
Let's talk about you.
Talking about me?
Yeah, it's way more exciting than 9th edition.
What do you enjoy, Phil?
Long walks on the beach.
Long discussions that last until the sun rises.
Do you like dogs?
A nice Chardonnay.
I do like dogs.
I got music
Be
for
a
this.
dog person.
It's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for in a Warhammer fan. So yeah, I'm just a YouTuber who likes to make stupid content. So I do a lot on the battle reports. I overreact to my dice and just have fun.
To be fair, we've seen your dice. They can be pretty terrible. It's not an overreaction when you get that 6 there.
Man, but I love those meme faces.
Exactly. And I do blame Danny for giving me weighted dice, but weighted the wrong way for my wedding.
It was all part of my plan.
Exactly. It was like first step. We're gonna give him
But definitely. Check out the Glacial Geek on YouTube, as he seems to have dropped from our connection. There he is.
Bye, Phil.
Hey, yeah, I was gonna say, what do you? What? That was a quick way to say.
Let me pull this back up here.
Oh, because I can
awesome.
Hear you now. Can you hear me?
He's going to send us audio because he can't hear what we're saying right now, and that is A-okay.
But
yeah,
can't hear me.
Check out the Glacial Geek on YouTube. Also, check out his Patreon on YouTube, where you can interact with Phil and get everything taken care of. On top of that, he, like I said, on his YouTube channel, every Monday he releases a Warhammer 40k battle report. Every Friday he releases a Kill Team battle report. And most Wednesdays he releases a Deep Thoughts Thin Coats, where he sits and discusses Warhammer while painting.
What a great guy, though.
What a great guy.
Man, we love Phil.
Do we love him a lot? Hopefully he can hear what he's saying and is just kind of muted on our end.
He says he can. I can read his lips right now.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay.
I've been practicing that.
Good times. Whoa. Whoa. That's creepy. But yeah, we are going to take...
Phil, this is a family show.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost. For none now live who remember it. It began with the writing of the Great Edition. 3 codexes were given to the Eldar, immortal, wisest, and fairest of all beings. 7 to the Xenos, great guns and claws. And 9 codexes were gifted to the race of men, who above all else desire power. For within these codexes was bound the strength and will to govern each race. But they were all of them deceived. For another codex was made, in the land of Nottingham, in the fires of Warhammer World, the Dark Lord Foley forged in secret a set of supplements to control all others. And into these supplements he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life. One faction to rule them all.
This should do.
Man, that's now going to be really out of date as of like a week from release.
True.
Okay, so we are going to now talk about, let me cue up the right thing here. Danny's favorite music that I've ever possibly done here. We're going to talk about some of our favorite 8th edition memories. We've heard from some of our listeners, some of the other podcasters, a part of the Rogue Trader Network. Now it's time for the really important things. What are your favorite memories from 40k 8th edition, Danny? Let me turn this down so we can really appreciate you.
So I have a couple of really good memories. So probably my first really good memory of 8th edition was we played in a states tournament. And this was like 2018, I think. It was a couple of years ago. It was like the very first states after 8th edition was released, our state championships.
Yeah. And
I was playing on top table, and I was being. I think the game was streamed.
Humble brag, love it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was definitely not winning the event. Like at that point, I had already lost a game. But I was playing against a fine gentleman named Cameron and his Custodes, and I was playing Nurgle Demons with Death Guard like demon.
Oh, I think I played you at that event too with your stupid list, which had like multiple plague words. It was all around Epidemius being a jerk, right?
He did buff my units quite a bit.
He did.
Anyway, like I'm playing this game and I can't. He's got like a bunch of assassins and a bunch of Custodes, and I have no weapons that have good AP value, right? So I'm doing my damnedest, throwing all these tricks in, like just trying to do whatever I can to blunt it and kind of win the game on attrition.
Sure,
as you do, but also winning it on the mission, on the primary mission. And so I worked my butt off, and I really came through with a victory at the very end where I was able to push a couple of points and kind of get control of some objectives. And oh man, did it feel good. But like Cameron was such a gentleman through the entire event. It was probably one of the most fun games of 40k I've ever played, like in my whole life. It was really great. So that was probably my favorite game of 40K that I've ever played, or at least in 8th edition, I would say.
Can I just say, for mine, one of my favorite games I played of 8th edition.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say one word to you: gangbusters.
Yep.
So this was at a GT last year, and actually, I think last weekend last year, because the memory popped up on my phone. But it was kind of the inaugural Midnight Sun GT. I had my entire my entire Nurgle demon list. It's 90 plague bearers, 30 Nurgling bases, and this all came from a place of me just wanting to play a meme list of just really annoying stuff. And man, did it work. Nice. So I went and played against one of the guys from Fairbanks, Randall, and he had 6 Eldar planes and kind of a bunch of other weird stuff. And I have literally 0 guns in my army.
Right.
So again, I just, it was WWDD. It was what would Danny do? And so I play to the objectives. So I'm trying to maximize my score. After turn 1, he turns to me and he says, "Yeah, I killed all your Nurgling bases, so I maxed out gangbusters." And I'm like, "Hold on there, buddy. Swarms don't count for gangbusters." He asked if he could change his secondary, and I'm like, "Bud, this is round 2 of a GT that I want to know at." No. I was like, "It's not me." And so he went to get the judge, and the judge sided with me. This is a 20-minute debacle, by the way. End of the game. I get tabled.
Right.
I won by 3 points.
That's the best.
So if he didn't actually take gangbusters and took a proper secondary, I would have lost that game by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
But that goes to show how important it is to play to the mission.
Yep.
Because I maximized my score in that one.
100%.
He threw a chair after that game.
He threw his hat on the ground.
Threw his hat on the ground.
Yeah. Oh man, it was great. I've seldom seen such bad sportsmanship.
That I managed to pull out of someone. That should not be a surprise to anyone who knows me. Danny, let's go run about.
And speaking of bad sportsmanship.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So my second. Wait, this is my most memorable moment, not my favorite moment. Right?
Oh sure. Okay. We can do either. There's been a lot.
Seldom when I play my games do I ever lose my temper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm usually or I don't know. I mean, I can get pretty direct, but I'm usually not forceful or mean.
Yeah.
So during one RTT, I decided I was going to play a Horde Chaos Army, and it was back when Poxwalkers and Cultist Spam was
really big, right? Yeah. So what would happen was you would make it so your Poxwalkers can be targeted,
right? And
then every time that a cultist died, it got added to the Poxwalker.
So I just had a huge 100-person Poxwalker unit at the end of the game.
That got FAQ'd real quick though.
And fair enough, it totally should have. So I'm playing a game against a gentleman who was kind of new to our store, and he had a Sisters of Battle army. And so we start the game, we're setting up. I play very fast, I would say, if I were to, not to, another humble brag here, but I'm not a slow player. And so I put my army down. I was deploying super fast. I had a lot of models. This guy spent literally 20 minutes deploying and redeploying one repressor full of Sisters of Battle, put it here, no, I'll put it here, no, I'll put it here, no, I'll put it here. So 45 minutes into the round, we're not done with deployment. So I called the judge over. I'm like, "Judge, what do you want me to do? This is ridiculous. This guy keeps deploying and redeploying, and I just want to start the game." And so he's like, "All right, you need to speed up, blah 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 blah." Anyway, since this apparently made my opponent really upset that, and I was pretty direct with him. I'm like, "Man, you need to hurry up and deploy. We're already this far into the game." Anyway, so he finally starts. He takes forever, doesn't understand the rules, questions me at every single impasse, about every single rule, because he hasn't ever played before.
Sure.
8th edition, and so. We're trying to figure this stuff out, or I'm showing him in the rule book every single time. Time is wasted. So we play 3 turns. I think it ends.
That's really good for considering a 45-minute deployment.
Oh my god, dude. Well, I played lightning, I'll tell you what. And so this guy, we get into arguments, he nitpicks all my movement, I'm moving too far, and I'm a pretty precise mover, so another thing. And so eventually he's like, "Hey, what's your problem, man? Like, do you have an issue? I'm like, well, I mean, you are the problem. You're acting like a giant asshole right now, and like I'm fucking sick of it. And the judge is like standing at the table. He's like, whoa, you need to chill out. You need to chill out. Like, both of you guys just finish your game. And I'm like, all right, game's over. Like, let's score. So I go, all right, good game. And I go to shake his hand. He's like, why have you been shaking my hand? Was it a good game? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, don't feel pressure to conform to societal norms of. And I'm just like, fuck you, buddy. Like, seriously, get out of here. All right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh man.
Yep. I did win though.
That's pretty memorable. Another great memory for me was playing against a local player and Com40K admin Rob Porter. Which is never usually a fun time for me. Well, the games are fun, but they're usually pretty short. This time, however, when I was playing him again with my weird Nurgle demon spam list against his like little AdMech defensive line, every morale test I rolled for my demons was a 1.
That's the best.
And in one turn, I brought back like 14 or 15 plague bearers.
Hell yeah.
Which got me within an inch of his line because I just daisy chained them forward.
Nice.
Like all the way, and then I just charged like all of his stuff. By the second turn that I brought back 10 plus plague bearers in a row, he literally had, oh my effing god, and walked away from the table. I lost that game, but I won in my heart because that was my objective of that list, was just to be annoying as heck. My god, was I annoying as heck with that list. It was super good. I did bit a Tau gunline though. Yeah. We just and he placed higher than me. And let me talk about why I did it. And Phil touched on it last segment. I did it by abusing rules and doing feel bad thing like try pointing and making it so like a lot of my stuff was untargetable.
Yep. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm glad it's gone now.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
It'll be better for the game overall.
It will. What else you got, Danny? Anything else that kind of really sticks out?
Okay. I played a game against one of our perennial podcast favorites, Taylor.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Good guy. Great guy. Teammate.
He told his favorite 8th edition memory of being very angry at someone playing. And then that was actually a listener favorite memory.
Actually, so the guy that he was mad at is the guy that I just described.
Who was your sister about?
Anyway, so I was playing him at a GT, and he was playing AdMech, and I was playing Necrons, and we had like this super close game where literally it was one mistake that I made, like I feel like at the very start, where I moved a plane too close to his knight so that he could move past my plane, like through the base.
Yeah.
If I would have move blocked the knight, like I would have moved the plane back maybe 3 or 4 inches, I think I would have won that game because I would have blocked the knight from getting over into my deployment zone.
Yeah.
But man, what a great game. Like it was like a really great back and forth. And I think I lost, but I only lost by like 1 point or 2 points. It was super close. Like It was awesome game. So much fun. Like I love games like that.
I was playing against one of our local players, Brian, and he had like this great looking guard Blood Angels list. And my single favorite memory from 8th edition from a game was when I had my line of plague bearers across the table, and I just told him, I'm charging your entire army with this unit of plague bearers.
Yep.
And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm charging your entire army with this unit of plague bearers. And I did.
Yeah, you did.
And turn 1.
Hell yeah.
Because I did some weird janky stuff to make them move quicker. Turn 1, every single infantry squad, character, tank in his army was in close combat.
Oh my god.
All of his Blood Angels who were in reserve couldn't be placed anywhere but his deployment line because I had the rest of the table. This is the feels bad stuff we're talking about for 9th, by the way, where like that shouldn't that feels bad for him.
But I mean, that could still all happen.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, don't deploy on your line if you're playing against me. I'm very aggressive very quickly.
You can be sneaky aggressive.
Danny, you've been out of
recklessly aggressive.
Recklessly aggressive. That is mine. I either win big or I lose. Lose medium. That's kind of
That's true. You do put up good losing scores, man.
Yeah, I'm like 19, 20 points a loss.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, win big, lose medium. It's our new merch that we're going to put out here. Danny, you've traveled a lot this edition. You've gone to the SoCal Open, LVO a couple times. You've been to Charity Hammer.
Yep.
How has your relevance been? Like, kind of, what has kind of been your experience going out of state and kind of meeting all these great people?
Man,
and Peter
it's been
the Falcon?
so great. Like, there's been so many great people that I've gotten to meet. Like every single like big named player that I've met over the course of my travels has been just such a great person. It's really been a treat to meet all these really great players, and I'm hoping that we get to continue that into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Danny and I, we both have our tickets booked for LVO.
Heck yeah.
We're excited to go down. We're excited to probably
our sneaky tickets.
Our sneaky tickets. That's another great memory for me. Because now, 3 years in a row, I've bought my LVO tickets early by Googling LVO ticket sale and getting the link to the website to buy tickets.
Before they're up for public.
They're up for public. 3 years in a row, I've emailed Frontline and be like, hey,
dirty dog.
I'm really sorry. I did it again. But no, we're excited to go. We'll probably get a nice little swab up our nose on the way down and the way up.
Oh, yay.
Can't wait for that. But we're excited to go because the people we meet traveling have been amazing and super great. We've been able to meet and talk to the people from the Best in Faction podcast, from the Sister Act podcast, who are just great guys.
Dangly Boys. Lords of Terra.
We haven't met the NZ 40 Cabal yet.
Hopefully someday.
But hopefully someday we will, once New Zealand lets people with poorer governments into their country. Or out
some
of
disease-ridden refugees into their country.
We helped form the Rogue Trader Network, we all kind of came together and kind of shared our information, which is such a great time. Like,
it's been a crazy good addition, man.
Michael Timpey from the High Lords of Terror podcast, not a guy I really talked to before, but he is such a great humor and wit to him.
Man. Yeah, he's great.
He matches my level of dryness, and I love that.
He's
so
very
much.
dry. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check out their stuff there. I will say this edition for me personally has been great. Our podcast has evolved and changed, and to the point where kind of it's just Danny and I now, but like I feel have improved year on year on year.
Yep.
And the only way is kind of up. And just from the heart here, that's because of like listeners and viewers like you guys who are spending your time for some unknown reason.
I don't get it, but
I don't get it.
We
appreciate it. That let us keep doing what we do for some unknown reason. Special shout outs, all of our Patreons who support us. You guys are amazing.
What a great guys.
We love seeing your work. We love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
A special mention, Beals. Alec Beals.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. If you wonder who does this amazing art piece that I'm pointing to in a video, just to kind of explain that to the podcast people, or any of our thumbnails or any of our great kind of can logos, that is all this guy. And he is just like one of the nicest guys. Kyle, what a bro you are.
Dude, yeah, seriously.
He smuggles us beers into LVO.
He's a beer runner.
He came with us on the pub crawl last time.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
man, that
and
was a good time.
Such an amazing person. And like I said, I know all of our listeners are great. I wanted to single those two people out as two people very special to us.
Of course.
In general. Danny, do you want to do anything else stupid and emotional before we wrap this up and send it to our worst character ever?
To be honest, that's not my bag. I'll let you take this.
Wonderful, cool. I already did it.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. Really jumped on that hand grenade for
me. You're welcome. We're going to be right back here, and we're going to talk about one of the worst characters ever. However, our virtual props aren't going to be here until next week.
Earl Hagen was a legend. In 1960, he whistled his way into Hollywood and into our hearts. Decades later, he made a comeback, lending those lustrous lips in the 1980s to such bands as the Scorpions, Guns N' Roses, and Pat Benatar. A half-century after his humble beginnings, he's at it again. This time without cumbersome musical accompaniment, he'll have you wetting your whistle and whistling along. His new album, Earl Whistles Disney, is sure to be a hit with all generations. Order now and receive a bonus album, Earl Whistles More Shit, a collection of previously unreleased material of Earl's favorite songs through the years. On this bonus album, he demonstrates his newly mastered technique of inward whistling. Order yours today on compact disc or double-length cassette. Also available at fine retailers such as Walgreens, CVS, and participating Sam Goody stores. Earl Whistles Disney. Buy it today.
So, 40K, share of terrible characters. We've done a previous video in the series.
Yeah.
By the time our next one films, we're going to be having a wonderful whiteboard behind us, which I ordered so we can kind of move up the rankings. We've done a terrible Necron Pirate.
Yep.
We have done Kaldar Drago, and we have done Cato Sicarius, the worst member of the worst legion known to man.
/ chapter. Yeah.
Slash chapter, same diff. Yeah, whatever. If he was around in Heresy times, he would have still
he would have
filled
still
that slot. Also, Cato Sicarius, a very big fan club, as we actually got a downvote on the last video on a specific person saying that he was awesome. So, yeah. I guess we were wrong. Today, of course, is going to be someone who is familiar to all of you. I don't think anyone is going to really question us at all. It is a mighty, mighty warrior.
It is.
It's something Danny, both and I, we both fielded before.
Many times.
It is the Avatar of Cain.
Oh, buddy.
On the tabletop. No, great. I played him a lot in 6th edition, when he was immune to flame and melt weapons. And that was an annoying little trick to come up. I remember specifically I played him against like a Salamander's army who was like, oh, well, I guess all my shit's just useless then. I'm like, yep. Pretty much.
Die.
Come, let me punch you. He did some neat things, like he let people ignore morale and kind of other stuff like that. But he kind of suffers from the fact he is a 25, 30-year-old model. Forge World aside.
Right.
That is just...
You shouldn't have to buy the Forge World model.
No, which is just not fantastic. Lore-wise, he seems to be kind of like the measuring stick that everyone else has put up against. But it's happened so much that it's now just bad.
It's like a bad trope. Okay, so let's talk about how the Avatar of King comes into existence. And
this is the worst part.
Well, I don't know. Yes. Okay. So first of all, I'd just like to preface this all. I really like the Avatar of King.
You too.
Personally, I just think that he gets written into lame situations. Like he's always like the thing that people go to fight or go to beat up, right?
Right.
So like how they select every year, one exarch from a craft world is picked as the young king from like all of the exarchs on the craft world.
Do they have like a dance party or like?
I think it's like Short Straw becomes
Short Straw. Like, it's not who's best. It's who's least popular.
Yeah.
And that Dire Avenger Exarch every year.
Yeah, like Thorandil, the Dire Avenger Exarch. That dude is a fucking jerk. Let's make him the young king this year. And Thorandil's like, again? And so he's
the young king every year for like 100 years.
Yeah, he just always gets voted, and he thinks he's popular, but really just the other Eldar are clowning on
What's
him.
up, young king?
Yeah.
Oh, that's me. I'm so popular.
So an exarch is an Eldar with hundreds, if not 1,000 years of experience under his belt.
Yeah.
They are, so it's one of the most experienced Eldar warriors of the craft world.
Unparalleled masters of war, you could say.
Dying race.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what better way to summon a one-time use like badass than to sacrifice him to the Avatar to make him, come into existence?
So they describe it as the birthing process of the Avatar. Like the Avatar is like a metal construct that lives in the heart of every craft world. Mm-hmm. When it's decided he's needed, like the Exarch is given the weapons of the Avatar to pull in. Which, by the way, the Avatar has a giant sword or a giant shield. So this entire Avenger Exarch is just dragging behind him like this massive sword, like which is 3 times the size of his body. Eldari, by the way, strength 3. Sometimes strength 4 at the max.
Right. At best.
At best. So he drags this sword into this chamber where the doors are like closed behind him. And they're like, hey guys, in like 20, 30 minutes, your avatar will be here. But this soul of an Eldar who's been a craft world master for thousands of years. If he's progressed to the level of Exarch for a different thing.
He's kind of a badass.
He probably knows how to make bone weapons. He probably can commune with the spirits. He can kind of do all this stuff here. But yeah, little Chaz here, the Exarch is now completely just mush for an avatar.
I know. So there was an old video game that was The Rights of War. Right, and I don't know if you ever played this game.
No. What was Rights of War?
So it's like you play like an Eldar craft world, and you are attacking like an Imperial world, and it's like a hex-based, turn-based strategy game.
Oh, sure.
Like Panzer General, that kind of stuff. I think it's in that same style. Anyway, so in this game, the intro sequence is the Eldar, like walking the young king into this room, right? It's like this scared Eldar dude who has to hold this giant sword. And they like cut his hand with the Wailing Doom and like smear it across his face. And they make him walk into this big like iron chamber that's on fire. And then they lock his ass in there.
Yeah.
And then an unspecified amount of time later, there's a
roar, I guess.
Blood-curdling shriek.
Sort of like
a roar.
the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Right. It's like he's the goat. He gets snacked on, or the lawyer, one of those two things.
I like once the avatar is done, like he awakes, he does his like magic stuff. He goes, beats up a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. He just kind of goes, chills out in his throne again and deactivates.
So I have a question about that.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever heard of them putting away the avatar. They take out the avatar, but they never put away the avatar.
You have to put your avatar away.
Right.
Otherwise, next time you want to sacrifice one of your like very few excellent warrior generals, it's got somewhere to go. But no, once it's done, the avatar returns to its craft world.
Does he teleport or does he have to walk?
No, he just walks back. Like when he's done with his murder rage, it's like a killbot that reaches its set limit. He sits in his throne, his armor cools down, and the fire goes away. I imagine it's like, like one of the old guys who's like sitting on his couch and there's a bunch of kids who keep like yelling and playing in front of his house, and he doesn't get up, and then he gets up, he goes back and yells, and then goes and sits down in front of the news again, and then calms down. And that's how it's
a cycle every day.
That's the cycle every time. So the avatar, as we mentioned before, is used often to show how powerful another character is.
So the avatar himself so Kane, literally, like at the very start of 30K, lost a giant battle with Slaanesh and got shattered into all these pieces.
Shards of the Satan, even.
First, yeah. No, we're not doing that. I don't know. Maybe.
Now I sort of.
I guess he could be. Who knows? I think he's more like a manifestation of like Korn and.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a giant god who's angry and wants to fight and kill all the time, and you have to sacrifice to get him there.
Right.
Wonder what chaos god that feeds.
So Kane loses one of the very first fights that he's ever in. Right in the fluff, gets shattered into a million pieces. And then, I mean, granted, he did fight in the War in Heaven, I guess, probably. And so he gets shattered into a million pieces. And so then they wake him up, right, in 30K, because they want to give Fulgrim a message. Like, they're like, hey, Fulgrim, like, Horus is going to turn. Eldrad, my fucking man, is like, dude, just stop. Come on. You don't do what you're going to do. And Fulgrim is like, no, bitch, I do what I want. It's my hot body. So he smacks around all the Eldar, like he beats up a Wraith Lord or whatever. And then the Eldar are like, fine, dude, you asked for it. Here's the avatar. And Fulcrum's like, oh, this guy, nothing but a bitch. Chokes out the avatar. How do you choke out a unit? That,
this is pre-Demon Primarch Fulgrim as well.
Right,
so
he's just a regular, I mean, granted, just a regular Primarch, right? But he chokes out the avatar. How do you choke out something that doesn't breathe?
Just Fulgrim like choking him on the ground with the why are you hitting yourself?
No,
like taking the
just
bloody hand and like smacking him in the face.
Like a Gollum strangle, like he strangles the avatar. I guess it kind of crushes his head or whatever.
So there's some unique battles here. Now I did source these from 1D4chan.
Okay,
solid, good source. Some of these might not be accurate.
A little bit left wing leaning, we'll take it.
He was killed. An avatar was killed by Marnius Calgar in hand-to-hand combat in the 5th edition Space Marine Codex.
True.
He was possessed by a Keeper of Secrets during the invasion of the Eldar Craft World.
True. God, that makes me so mad because he's like...
So, he's not a person and he's a demon. Based on the tabletop of his demon keyword and the fact you have to sacrifice it, pull him out here. Demons inhabiting demons.
I don't even know what to say to that.
So, trampled to death by 12 stampeding carnifexes during the battle between Craftworld Allenden and High Fleet Kraken.
He got trampled? What a fucking inglorious way to die.
So what happened apparently was the Avatar was goaded into a fight with the Hive Tyrant.
Right.
And what he didn't see was that there was 12 carnifexes sitting to the side.
Being herded by a Tyranid Prime going,
yeah. And then as soon as he stepped out to one-on-one the Hive Tyrant, which he wouldn't be able to do anyway, he just got kind of stampeded. As you mentioned before here, strangled, had his neck snapped by Fulgrim. And as they remind us, the avatars are living metal statues and neither breathes nor has bones.
Oh, good. I'm glad that they noticed that too.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Killed by the Sanguinor.
Come on. He's like a little dude.
I'm
just so mad. Like, he is such a fucking whipping boy.
He is. He was doused in a great flood by the water people after his raw power and heat defrosted them from their icy imprisonment by the space wolves. That's questionable. I don't know if I'm going to believe that one here.
What story is that? Because now I want to read
There was no source on that one. So if anyone wants to point out what the source is in that one, or if this is just lies, please let us know.
If it's just 1D4 Chinisms.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Put out of his misery by Lorgar.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a corrupted one. That one was weak, and Lorgar did whoop its ass.
Yeah, and Lorgar is a little bitch, which we were going to talk about, but next time.
I refuse.
Yeah, we refused that one. That was Danny used his...
Sorry, I used my veto.
His veto on Lorgar from that one. He was stabbed in the heart by Morgan Ra to temper his sword.
So, hold on. He even gets killed by other Eldar? He's because the representation of their god.
Because he had to make his sword gun more, he had to make it more badass. He was abandoned on a maiden world, had his connection with the Eldar severed, and reduced to a mindless state of rage, which consequently called out the orcs of the nearby system who were happy to answer it, and then they came and fought the Avatar. So they just left a shard of their god behind on a maiden world.
What are Eldar doing?
They were killed by the Legion of the Damned when assisting the invaders. When the Legion realized their flaming bolters didn't do anything against Avatar, they instead shot the roof until the roof fell down on it and killed the statue of metal.
It's like Jack Burton shooting the ceiling in
somehow, we read this book. They were fused and corrupted by a gene stealer patriarch who took over it on the Craft World. That was on the
that was the
Inari book.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. And then a purer shard of the Avatar of Cain called the War Shard was killed by the Incarn very quickly. However, it says here, because the Incarn was easily defeated by Araman, it does not say good things about Cain. So, he's used as kind of like an Imperial Fist narrative whipping boy.
There you go. That's exactly what he is.
Like, while Imperial Fists are used to really kind of cement how awesome an enemy is at killing most things, Avatar is used to cement how good a character is at killing things.
Right.
The problem is he's being used so much.
It's like a trope.
It's like a trope now. It's his very own trope. But that's going to be our Avatar of Cain. Next time we talk about one of our worst characters in 40K, we're going to start ranking them by how bad they actually are. And at the end of the season of this, we're gonna argue off between the two worst characters to see which is the worst of all.
Nice. Do you have a single wound? A standard bolt gun? Having trouble maintaining an acceptable Xenos kill count? Only barely over 2 meters tall? Maybe it's time to ask your lieutenant if the Rubicon Primaris is right for you. The Rubicon Primaris is a prescription process that helps you to update that tired look. You may notice an increase in your purging abilities after within 2 to 4 hours. You may experience loss of life, additional organs, and a points increase. Do not take the Rubicon if you plan on fitting into rhinos, drop pods, or other traditional vehicles. The Rubicon Primaris is not intended for second founding chapters. The Rubicon Primaris is for use on genetically enhanced super soldiers over the age of 800 only. You are encouraged to report negative side effects to your company's apothecary. The Rubicon Primaris. Because sometimes plot armor is just not enough.
All right, Danny, you asked our wonderful Patreons today if they had any questions for us, and then I forgot about it until very recently, so I didn't have a chance to convert it into wonderful text-to-speech. So
Shame.
So one of our first questions here: which unit do you think is the new dark horse of 9th edition? What unit do you think is going to take advantage of the rules the most?
Man, that's a really good question.
Great answer. Next question.
One unit in particular? I don't know. That's tough.
Or I guess what are some examples of units you think, rather than narrowing it down to just one?
So I think AdMech are like unbelievably broken right now.
Sure.
And so I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on. Here's my example. Castellan robots. I think Castellan robots are going to be like one of the most disgusting units in the game right now.
For sure. Yeah.
Like they can shoot into combat now. So you can't even just lock them up. And it doesn't matter if they like lock down so they can shoot twice. They're gonna just be able to blow away. They're gonna get like 18 shots apiece. They can shoot you in combat. They have access to plenty of buffs to hit, so that they will be hitting on 4s or 3s, even shooting into combat with their heavy weapons. I think they're gonna be really gross. I think that let's see, what else? What other armies are really good? I think Space Marines are going to be really good. Hold on. No shit. Right,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Space Marines?
I know.
Good?
I know, it's crazy.
In this day and age?
I know, it's nuts, man.
I'm not video recording the segment, but I'm slapping the table vigorously in anger right now.
I think that like impulsors and transports are going to be really powerful, and you're going to see a lot more of that stuff on the table, which is great. I think the Lehman Russ battle tank is pretty decent right now. I think the turret is a little bit lackluster.
It's the sponsons really that kind of make it, right?
Man, if you can wipe out what you're in combat with a bunch of heavy flamers.
But I think what's really, I think sponsons are going to change really hardcore, because everyone's worried about like, oh yeah, you shoot your heavy bolters into combat, but if you like the chance of a heavy bolter killing the squad around it,
it's very
slim,
right?
So I mean, it's really kind of blast weapons are going to be great, but it's going to really change the sponson. So I think you're going to see like more defensive Lehman Russes where you're going to have side flamers.
Right. I think that's the new go-to. Two side flamers and a heavy bolter just to keep it cheap, or last cannon if you really want to.
Yeah. Just for like a little cheeky one there. But like, I think a lot of units got like some really good buffs from this.
Oh my God. There's so many good, like, it's hard for me to describe. So first of all, in full disclosure, I also haven't played a game of 9th yet. That'll change, obviously. But I think that there's a lot of good things going on, with 9th edition. And I think that there's a lot of units that are going to see the tabletop more consistently, that you didn't see before, really, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like, personally, like making my death card lists, I don't feel anything is necessarily bad anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think is a great thing on 9th and kind of the rule design in that, where, yeah, a lot of the janky stuff has gone away, but nothing necessarily I'm taking is bad anymore. Like if I want to take a Noxious Blightbringer, which is something I would never really take him before, now he's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's like a Psychic Awakening thing, sure, but it was designed with like Ninth in mind. And even with all the rules changes, he's pretty good. And it just that's what I like is just the options as being open up for this year. We were asked a bunch of questions for Phil too, because I said, hey, we're going to be joined by Phil. Let me know if you have any questions for him. And then we didn't ask him anything. So let's just answer his questions for him.
Oh yeah, no, I know the answers to all these.
Yeah. So Russell's like, has he got over Gav Thorpe admitting that Dark Angels are traitors?
No,
not at all.
No, he hasn't gotten over anything at all.
We're going to ask him, what's he been up to preparing for Ninth?
Stupid Dark Angel shit.
It's just Dark Angel shit. Yeah, he's probably like assembling some bikes. He's going to paint them green, even though thematically they should be black.
Like,
yeah, he's just like, if there's any Terminators, those are going to be green too, because he prefers those schemes.
Weird.
And like a power gaming jerk, not only is he going to take over shooting with his Space Marine Dark Angels, but he's going to take over close combat with his Gene Stealer cult, because he likes to spread out a little bit there.
Yep.
What else we had? Did vehicles get a significant boost?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see if the meta shifts too hard into vehicles, though, because I kind of think that might happen initially, where people are like, oh, got to take all the tanks I can, and then everyone's going to be like, well, got to take all the las cannons I can.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, like, well, not las cannons, but good anti-tank weapons.
Like, I know for me, like, I was heavily down in the Plague Burst Crawler when I was kind of making lists until I saw one of our Patreon's Voltanist's list where he took 3 of them, and he described the joy of character sniping with the Plague Mortar.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be really big.
Which is going to be really big. And then I realized, I was like, hey, it's a vehicle. I have 2 flamers on the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're plague weapon. Like, just let's go. Let's kind of get out of there. So I kind of maxed those out. I think they're going to play a big thing, but I think everyone's expecting them to be really big. So I expect the first couple of months that this game is out, vehicle heavy lists are going to struggle because really good players are going to come with the ability to take down 2 or 3 vehicles a turn.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be some mitigation you're going to have to do to kind of move away from that. I know I personally, I'm not moving away from hordes.
Yeah.
Like I know.
I think they'll still be fine-ish. Like, there just won't be as many of them. If you have the ability to reserve them, I think that's going to be really powerful.
And like looking at the blast weapon rules, right? I mean, yes, it does more damage against hordes, but it should. Like if we go back to like 6th edition when they were using templates, hordes took more damage from Lehman Russ. Hordes took more damage from blast weapons.
That's true.
This is a way of kind of getting that feeling back, which again, they should take more damage, but without kind of the argument of the template. Because I've had times where I'm like, hey man, he is not under that template.
Right.
And it's like, he sure is. Or moving that scatter and be like, hey, it's actually this direction here.
Right. And that's fine. Like, and you can also game the templates by doing, by being really good at placing your models 2 inches apart. Like every single model 2 inches apart.
Right. Which again speeds up the game.
Yep.
Because I used to do that.
For sure. Me too.
Hormigan squad's got to be like exactly 2 inches apart the whole time.
So they can only hit like 5 models maybe at the most.
Yeah, max. Yeah. And that's a conversation I've had with opponents where it's been like, you should be able to hit 5 models max.
Yep.
But yeah, so that would be that one. Vehicles are going to be a big star, but you can't rely solely on them.
Hey, I've got this one, John.
Yeah.
What is the most underrated rules change?
I think the most underrated rules change for me personally has been the charging aspect.
Okay.
That's been pointed out as being a big change, but I don't think people realize how big a change that is.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of the charge rules combined, and I know we asked Phil about these earlier, having to make every declared charge, me as an assault-based player, that's a huge change to how I view the game and how I view the board. Mm-hmm. Like people have mentioned it in passing, but I don't think people realize quite how much of a change that is.
You can't do like a safety charge anymore.
Right. And I can't do like a safety charge with like, before I would charge with Corn Berserkers, declare everything within 12, because I know I could like CP 6-inch movement to get there anyway.
Right.
I have to make sure I make that charge there. The other underrated thing is the heroic intervention.
Sure.
Like just having, I used to be able to, even when I played Eldari, and I had Azerman, and he would always be just within heroic intervention range.
Of like your front line.
Of my front line.
Yeah.
So my front line was there to take the charge.
Mm-hmm.
Azerman was there to heroically intervene and just wipe out anything that charged them there. And not being able to safely do that anymore is going to make me really change how I play. Because for me, it was fine because Azurmane can kind of heroically intervene. You can't touch him. His sword is going to mess up anything that goes in combat.
It's going to do good damage.
But now, if I heroically intervene, and that squad's going to be like, okay, cool. I want to hit that guy.
Right.
That is a huge change.
That's a big change.
What about you? What are some of the underrated things you've heard?
I think coherency is the biggest. I think coherency and the way the changes to the psychic phase are the two biggest ones for me. Mm-hmm. Coherency is huge, and that affects so many different units. And you're going to have to be really careful and mind the way that you place your unit, because you can really screw yourself over by losing a lot of models in one go.
Right.
If your opponent catches you out.
Right.
Or if you remove casualties in the wrong way. So it's really important to place down your unit and have a really good think about how your unit is in coherency.
Giggity.
The other one's the psychic phase change is actually really large, because you can't necessarily save up 2 powers from one psyker and then save the big one until the end of the phase.
Right. You have to go psyker by psyker and complete powers as you go.
Mm-hmm. So you may want to spread your powers out on your psychers a little bit different. So that means you may not have all of your best powers on the psyker that gets a +1 to cast or something like that. So that's a big change. And then finally, the other big one is morale. So I think the morale change is huge. I think it makes hordes way more durable for that stuff, especially if they don't have leadership mitigating abilities.
Right.
10 guys taking 5 casualties is probably only losing 2 guys. And that's a big deal.
That really is.
Yeah. So, I think that's really huge too, and probably underrated.
Something we have here, I think it's going to be our last question here, but why are bases measured in millimeters and distances in inches?
Because I don't have a good answer for that. Because when Games Workshop were they using imperial units still?
They've always used inches and always measured their bases in millimeters.
Well, I know, but when did England switch over to the metric system officially?
Big time. Big time.
Where people weren't just using that.
It's the 40s, 50s, something like that.
Really?
It's been a while.
Well, I don't have any good answer for
I don't have a good answer. I think it's just because it's easier to do base size as.
And those are kind of some standard base sizes that other games and things used.
Right. So. And then they tried using centimeters and millimeters for Battlefleet Gothic. Mm-hmm. It was one of the reasons I didn't like the game.
Yeah, also for War Master, I believe, used that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So it was one of the, it wasn't great. But yeah, and then he follows up with, shouldn't we use the metric system instead of squared eagles per 3 freedoms? And no, we should always
absolutely not
measure things by birds.
We do have one more question.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
How do grav weapons measure up in this edition?
I think they're the go-to choice right now because we already know the points of them. We already know they've gone down, and the stratagems haven't been FAQ'd yet. So they're still just as potent as before. The only difference we're seeing is they're going on a Devastator squad base instead of a Centurion squad base. So they're just as potent as before. I know in 8th edition, I was seeing grav drop pods.
For sure. Especially Iron Hands or something.
Right. Right. And them coming down in points isn't going to change the fact that 5 dudes with a 3-up save aren't going to survive long.
No. They're like a
they're
one and done kind of a thing.
They're a one and done thing still. So it goes all about mitigating how you deal with it. And everyone's saying grav Devastators are going to be the next huge thing. They're not paying attention to the terrain rules. They're not paying attention to kind of the reinforcement rules because the grav drop pod's a new hot thing, right? Well, what if I screen out the board so you have to drop in 1 or 2 places and that minimizes your field of view to my stuff that you can grab?
I mean, that's fair. I think it's probably hard to really screen out a 24-inch range gun with a smaller deployment, board size.
But even then, you're killing what, 1, 2 vehicles? So
depending on how much the squad costs, I think it's 125, 135 points, something like that. I think that they trade up really, really well. I think that unit in particular is very underpointed, probably. We'll see how powerful it is. The thing you have to remember is it seems really great until you realize that they're all heavy, so they're -1.
Right.
And you can only use the the grav amps or the gravitic amplification on them on 1 squad per turn. So if you have one coming in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, that's probably pretty good. But if you have them in any other forms of reserve and you're getting 2 at the same time, that's probably pretty bad.
And if you're trying to plan, like drop them in via drop pod to kind of mitigate some of the damage you're going to take if you're automatically -1 because people leaving transports kind of moving, right?
Yeah, sure.
So they're already -1. So they're hitting on 4s.
Right.
Generally, most stuff you're shooting at is going to find a way to get a further -1.
Sure.
It's just,
and there's a couple of ways around that, of course,
Yeah.
right? Like Ultramarines don't always count as stationary if they're in their tactical doctrine, and Iron Hands if they're in Devastator doctrine.
Yeah, I don't think it's the killer unit everyone thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, I think they're probably pretty good. If you want to take them, I'd recommend it. I think they're probably a good trade unit. So you trade them for something that costs a lot more than
if you're not an Astartes player, just have ways to think about how to counter them.
Yep, just think of ways that you can mitigate their presence because they will kill something probably when they come down.
Whenever they come down, they will take one. And then, that's all I want to say.
That's good.
If you guys have any further questions or if you want to ask Danny or me anything else, Danny, the tournament winning player, me, the unknown, thanks Frontline for really kind of hurting me in the feels today. Message us, leave us a review, do all kinds of fun stuff. We will only answer questions of 5-star reviews because we're that kind of scummy podcast.
Do you have a single wound? A standard bolt gun? Having trouble maintaining an acceptable Xenos kill count? Only barely over 2 meters tall? Maybe it's time to ask your lieutenant if the Rubicon Primaris is right for you. The Rubicon Primaris is a prescription process that helps you to update that tired look. You may notice an increase in your purging abilities within 2 to 4 hours. You may experience loss of life, additional organs, and a points increase. Do not take the Rubicon if you plan on fitting into rhinos, drop pods, or other traditional vehicles. The Rubicon Primaris is not intended for second founding chapters. The Rubicon Primaris is for use on genetically enhanced super soldiers over the age of 800 only. You are encouraged to report negative side effects to your company's apothecary. The Rubicon Primaris. Because sometimes plot armor is just not enough.
Man, what a great episode we had today.
What an episode.
We heard from Phil again. It's the first time in like 60 episodes that we've had him on. Apparently, he really enjoys being on. All we had to do was ask. Who knew?
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
I kind of knew, I guess.
Once you leave the podcast, you really don't want to come back.
No, yeah. You were like, oh man, the dark part of my life is behind me.
We forget about that.
I found some greener pastures.
Oh, but if you want to see some really well put together battle reports that have just like a great energy behind them, Glacial Geek on YouTube. Obviously, his content was kind of slowed by the corona.
Right. He hasn't put something out in a few months, but he ran out of battle reports, and he's been socially distancing himself, which is great.
Well, and honestly, like for the past 3, 4, I think 5 years actually now, he's released one battle report a week every week.
At least once.
At least.
So there's a lot of kill team battle reports too. So if
there's at least 300 to 400 battle reports you can check out. Every army on his stream is painted. Yep. It looks great. He has, like I said, a really infectious personality. So definitely kind of check out his stuff there.
His laugh makes me laugh every
time. I miss that man so much.
I know, me too.
And so much. He should just not let his wife follow her dreams, and he should just live here forever.
Just crush her under his heel.
And come back so Danny and I can be happier.
Right,
that's absolutely
Love
what
of
it
God,
is.
Phil.
So that is yet another episode of Mob Rules. It's been fun. We've talked about our worst characters. Mm-hmm. We caught up with an old friend, and we're really excited. We talked a little bit
about 9th edition.
We talked a little bit about 9th, and from this point onwards, we're solely 9th, buddy. There's no 8th edition memories. That sound effect is gone.
They're not.
See you later.
Yeah. See ya.
See you later, music. It's gone now. It's going to be gone. You know what else is gone? Night Watch with the Eagle. I don't have to listen to that goddamn bird anymore.
Well, you don't have to. But
that is gone. I will. We'll probably turn this into something else. It's a pretty good thing altogether. But thankfully, there's some things that are going to be staying. We're going to keep our baseless speculation.
Oh yeah.
Brought to you by Spiky, because there will always be baseless There'll always be baseless speculation.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the hard ending on that one too.
Yeah, that's a very hard ending. We're not going to fade out. We're not a fade out kind of person. And then also this is going to say the
I'll blow a hole in you with my
corrections and omissions.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because let's face it, I probably said 3 or 4 wrong facts this episode alone.
Probably.
Please point them out.
Way more
Send
than
them
that.
to us.
Yeah.
Let me know where I'm wrong. Danny's pretty sure I'm wrong about that plasma thing.
No, I think you're right. I forgot.
Dang it. Man, that just ruined my outro.
Yeah, my bad, dude. I was wrong.
It's all good. Danny, I'm very excited to play you Saturday. We're going to get a game in 9th in. We're going to figure out how stuff works.
Heck yeah, we'll try and take some pictures.
We're going to take some pictures. We're going to put them up.
Oh yeah, we should put them on our Facebook too.
Yeah. They'll be free. It'll be great. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. Hey John Q. Please just send me just awful diatribes if you're a terrible person.
Oh yeah, please do.
That's happened a lot this week.
Just send John a lot of awful things.
It's a lot of fun because I just say thank you and then I kind of move on. I get told I'm unimaginative. I'm like, yeah, you're really right. I'm not.
If you have any pictures of like gross sexual injuries, you can send those to John as well. He really enjoys those.
Please send them. No, please don't do that. Danny on Twitter is Velocate5.
Yep. Don't send me any pictures.
We're not going to tell you how to spell that, so you don't send him any gross pictures of sexual injuries.
That's fine. You can just search for me. It's pretty phonetic.
Mob Rules AK on Facebook. Mob Rules on Patreon. If you're dumb enough to want to give us money to continue this thing.
And if you are dumb enough, thank you so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate all of you guys.
Of our heart.
Yeah, and then check out our videos on YouTube. Like I said, last week alone, we released around 4 hours of content.
Hell yeah.
Danny broke down the new 9th edition rulebook phase by phase in a way that's helpful for beginners to the game. And also people who just want to see what the rulebook looks like.
Yep.
I, for one, super happy there's bullet points.
Oh man, I'm very overall the organization of this rulebook is excellent.
It's fantastic.
And you know something we didn't talk about?
What's that?
There's a glossary in the back with commonly used terms. Yeah, man.
Does it have raw as a commonly used term?
No.
Oh. Well,
because the Games Workshop doesn't believe in that, dude.
They don't believe.
You know that.
They don't believe in rules as written. It's fine. But yeah, for another Mob Rules, we'll be back in 2 weeks. But I've been John.
I've been Danny.
And we will see you next time.